Gregory Brill, pilot, etc. In my lesson plan part 1, owning your ultimate hangar dream house and the things they don't tell you. Quite a day here. You see my airplane right over there. The reason it's over there is the poor little birdie spent the night out in the cold because this was filled with 2 feet of snow, which I was unable to remove with that because that did not work. And so through hard shoveling and diligent labor, I cleared this whole thing. Not the case. I had to bring in the crew with an auger, and they cleared it out for me a few hours ago. So now I got to get that airplane in this hangar so we can get the ice off it. And maybe if you're good, Mike, we'll fly to Yosemite. We'll fly over Yosemite and go to Cody. That'd be fun, right? All right.
Show us a little about that plane. We've seen it before, but since we're talking about maintenance stuff today,
yeah. All right.
you may not know.
Well, I have spoken a lot about the turbines and the different aspects of the engine and such. So how about we treat the lowly landing gear as today's lesson focus, because it's especially pertinent to what we've got to do. So I've got to get this airplane in that hangar, and we had a lot of snow and I couldn't turn it around, so I was blocking everybody. And so the landing gear in this airplane is kind of interesting, and what's also interesting, which we'll talk about today, is how do you move an airplane like this? You have an airplane like this, it's heavy, it's about over 7,000 pounds. And, obviously a little ding on this is a very big financial ding. So how do you move something like this around safely and effectively, and what do you need to worry about? Well, let's first of all look at the landing gear here. So of course it's a retractable, but what I want you to notice is notice these pants. And they're not really pants, they're I'm not actually sure what the terminology. We'll just call them flap thingies. So the flap thingies are an aerodynamic design, but you see how close to the ground they are? That's really problematic. What happens is a lot of times you go to an FBO or something and they throw chocks in front of it and they'll put the chalk under it. Then you get in the airplane sinks, crunch. And so it's something you really got to be careful about. So you get a few knots in aerodynamics, but you get quite an expense if you don't treat it real well. Yeah. But what we're really going to talk about right now is the steering and the nose gear. So I'm going to get a tug. The tug that I love, my Romeo remote control tug, is broken. I have a backup tug, a Bravo, which we're going to have to use. And so we're going to tug that nose gear. On this airplane, when you adjust the rudders, you actually steer that nose gear a little bit. And this here is really important. This is all the degree of freedom and travel that you can really have, to these red things. You snap these things, you are in some big trouble. Not even just about snapping these things, you're in big trouble, because if you turn this wheel and you bring it beyond its degrees of freedom, which is very easy to do with a powerful tug, then, ouch, then it has rudder cables that go to the steering. So when I rudder, this steering actually turns. It actually moves the wheel a little bit. What a rudder does is a rudder does a slip. It moves your tail. So you rudder in the direction you want your nose to point. And so the rudder will just simply kick in that direction. And this wheel follows in tandem with that if you've got the gear retracted. So on the ground, you rudder on the ground the same as you would in the air. Yeah, so that's, the purpose of a rudder is the slipping of an airplane. I don't say turning of an airplane. Airplanes do not turn like automobiles do. A lot of people think it's like a car. Cars yaw, right? That's what a car does. Airplanes can't yaw. In fact, if you yaw in an airplane, you could be in danger of spinning and getting in a crash. Airplanes hate doing this. If you're ever doing this in an airplane where you show more of your body, you're, is that sexy? You're doing what's called a slip, and you're losing altitude mad fast, right? And you're flying uncoordinated too. So your passengers are throwing up, you're losing altitude really fast. The only real good reason to do a slip is where, you know, you're too high and you need to get down because you're on an approach. Arguably, you really shouldn't be in that kind of approach, but hey, there are times. So yeah, that's how that works. So airplanes don't yaw, or at least they shouldn't. They want to. You have got to stop them from yawing. But airplanes do bank. And when an airplane banks, the lower wing, you know, where the aileron is up, is losing lift, and the airplane will start to descend and do that. And so you want to do a coordinated turn so that you know, you bring your you bring your elevator back. So elevators, that rudder, that whole thing, empennage. But yeah, your elevators are the thing that bring your tail up or down. So this is elevators, and this is rudder. Okay, right?
So tell us, you know, obviously you live in this unique, beautiful community, but you also fly what I consider, you know, much more advanced, expensive airplane. And there's, as you've just shown, you have to be very detail oriented in not just operating the plane along with the property, but also just being careful. So can you kind of walk us through that, or if that even was part of planning in when you wanted to move here? Kind of walk us through the process of when you come in, just like we did yesterday, how you get the plane in the hangar, all that good stuff. Because I think anybody who's looking to live in a flying community will consider all of this, even if they fly a small airplane.
Yeah, well, different types of flying communities have different kind of provisions. You know, some might only have a grass strip. Some might have a 1,500, you know, foot runway. This is like, I think about around like 5,800 feet, with a lot of space on both ends in case you go over, right? So the first question is like, you know, you kind of get the air park for the plane you want to fly. So this air park is actually way overkill for this airplane. This airplane is really easy to handle on a big long runway. So for this air park, or really any place, this is a great airplane. TBM can do any mission. You know, it's fast, it's short field. One of the nice things, and one of the things you think about is, so look around. Go ahead, do a sweep. This is where we are,
yep,
right?
I've got a shot.
Do you see all the white?
Yeah, it's snowy.
Okay, all the snow, ice, snow. Look at that. Okay. That can happen on that runway. This is an untowered field and we don't have a crew, right? You could have black ice, you can't always tell. So one of the things you really want to think of, why a turboprop is incredible, is because of the beta capability. I think I've talked about beta before, but I'll do it again. So it's possible to actually reverse the pitch of the propellers so that you can actually go backwards. You can throw your thrust ahead of you, and you can actually move the airplane backwards like a reverse on a car. Now, that's probably not wise to do because you have no rear view mirrors. However, when you're landing, let's say you're landing on ice, you're uncertain, you really don't want to be hitting those brakes. And so what you can do is you can stop yourself completely with the beta capability of the airplane. So you can land, throw that into beta, and actually just slow yourself down while still having rudder authority, right? And still having, you know, some steering authority. And that's a big advantage to this particular airplane. I never worry about overshooting the runway, and that has happened. It's happened more than once. Recently, probably about a year and a half ago, we had a jet land on the runway here, and it was icy, and there's no reporting on that necessarily. Went all the way down the runway, went right over into the snowbank toward the reservoir. Thankfully, pilot fine, because this is a very well-designed strip, and it has that space, but airplane, not so good. All right, well, that's a little bit about the airplane. Now, let's see the house. Mike has been wanting me to do this for a while, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Come, join me in my channel, the AlphaPapa, and I'll bring you with me on my journeys of flying and home ownership in the middle of an airport, which is a mixed blessing, believe me. So, all right, you want a tour? I'll give you a tour.